We all think we know the story of Marie Curie, right? Titan of science, Nobel Prizes, the whole deal. But there's this incredible chapter, this American adventure she had back in 1921 that most people have never heard of. And it's a story born from a really strange problem, a paradox that, believe it or not, ended up changing medical history forever.
Okay, so picture this. It's 1921. World War I is over. And Marie Curie? She is not just a scientist anymore. She is, without a doubt, the most famous woman on the planet. I mean, a two-time Nobel Prize winner. Her name basically means genius. But behind all that fame and glory, she had a huge problem, a real roadblock.
And this is where it gets absolutely wild. The woman who literally discovered radium, who gave its secrets to the world, couldn't even afford to buy it for her own research. Can you believe that? The price had just shot through the roof, and her lab, the famous Radium Institute in Paris, was running on empty.
So you're probably asking, how is that even possible? Well, it all comes down to this really noble, almost unbelievable decision she and her husband Pierre made. They decided not to patent radium. They felt it was a gift to humanity, that it belonged to everyone. A beautiful idea, for sure, but it meant that as radium became more valuable, she was completely priced out of her own discovery.
And what kind of price are we talking about? $100,000 for 1 single gram of radium. Now, back in 1921, that was an astronomical amount of money. We're talking well over $1 million in today's money. For a research scientist, it might as well have been $1 billion. Just completely impossible.
So her work is at a standstill. What happens next? Well, the answer, funnily enough, came from America. And it was all thanks to one very persistent journalist.
This journalist's name was Marie Meloney, but everyone called her Missy. And in 1920, she lands an interview with the great Marie Curie. When she hears that Curie can't afford radium, she's just floored. She can't believe it. So right then and there, she decides she's going to fix it. She launches this thing called the Marie Curie Radium Fund, basically one of the first ever giant crowdfunding campaigns, calling on the women of America to chip in and raise that $100,000.
Of course, there was a catch. There's always a catch, right? Missy Meloney knew that to get people to donate, they needed to see their hero. So the deal was this. The women of America would give her the radium, but Curie had to come to the US for a 7-week tour to accept it. Now, for someone like Marie Curie, who was famously shy and hated the spotlight, this was basically a nightmare. But what could she do? The radium was everything.
And so, the stage was set. At 54 years old, this reluctant hero boarded a ship and sailed for America, straight into a storm of publicity she never wanted.
So on May 4th, 1921, she, along with her 2 daughters, Irene and Eve, got on the SS Olympic. And let me tell you, what came next was just a whirlwind. Look at this schedule. This was not a sightseeing trip. It was a non-stop, coast-to-coast marathon of events, speeches, and handshaking, absolutely grueling. And the second her ship pulled into New York Harbor, it became crystal clear that this was going to be bigger than anyone imagined. America didn't just welcome a scientist, they welcomed her like a conquering hero, a total rock star.
I mean, just try to picture this scene. It's May 11th, New York Harbor. Thousands of people are jammed onto the docks, just screaming her name. You've got Polish-American groups waving flags. You've got brass bands playing the anthems of 3 different countries. There were even troops of Girl Scouts lined up in their uniforms, tossing roses. All of this, for a scientist, it was just an absolute spectacle.
Wow. Just an incredible moment in history. And while we're letting that sink in, this seems like a good time for a quick reminder. Please remember to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. Share and like our videos. The information in the video is compiled from open sources. Thank you.
But all that fame, it really came at a price. It's kind of funny. It was like 2 different trips were happening at the same time. For her daughters, Irene and Eve, it was this triumphant adventure. They went to Coney Island. They swam in Lake Michigan. But for Marie, it was a total nightmare. She was constantly exhausted, dizzy from the crowds, and she shook so many hands that she literally had to put her arm in a sling by the end of it. But she pushed through all of that for one single moment. The main event. The reason she was there. The ceremony at the White House.
So, May 20th, 1921, President Warren G. Harding himself is there to present her with the gift. And the whole thing was pure ceremony, really. It was all about the symbols. She gets the scroll, which is the deed of donation from the women of America. She gets a certificate from the National Bureau of Standards saying, yep, this radium is the real deal. And then the centerpiece, this gorgeous mahogany box with a tiny golden key.
And get this, that box was not just for show. It was lined with thick lead to block the radiation, and it weighed over 100 pounds. That's more than 45 kilos. It was literally heavy, a perfect symbol for the sheer weight and importance of what was supposed to be inside.
But here's a fantastic little piece of trivia for you. The box was empty. Well, not empty, but the actual gram of radium wasn't in there. It was way too dangerous. The real stuff was safely locked away at the National Bureau of Standards. So the whole White House ceremony, it was for a stand-in box, all for the photo op. Pretty smart, right?
And on that box, which you can still see today at the Curie Museum in Paris, there's this inscription. It reads, "Presented by the President of the United States, on behalf of the women of America to Madame Marie Sklodowska-Curie in recognition of her transcendent service to science and to humanity." I mean, wow, it really says it all, doesn't it? This wasn't just charity. It was a nation saying thank you.
Because really, that's the key here. This gift wasn't just for one person or one lab, it was a gift to all of humanity. That single gram of radium was about to kickstart a revolution.
And the effect it had? It was huge, and it was fast. Suddenly, her Radium Institute in Paris had the fuel it needed for groundbreaking research. That research led to massive leaps in radiation therapy. And that, in turn, completely changed cancer treatment for decades. So many lives were saved, all stemming from this 1 gram of radium, a gift from the women of America.
And if you think the story ends there, you'd be wrong. This whole campaign was such a massive success that 8 years later, in 1929, they did it again. Missy Meloney and the Women of America raised the money for a second gram of radium. And this time, Marie Curie gave that gram to her beloved home country, Poland, to start the Radium Institute in Warsaw. Just incredible.
So, this whole story from 100 years ago really makes you think, doesn't it? Today, we hear all about massive government funding and giant corporations bankrolling science. But what about this? What about the power of regular people coming together to support something they believe in? What is the role of public generosity in science today? It's a really important question, and maybe one we don't ask enough.